Hey guys, sorry for the delay. This came from outside. Am I audible? Please confirm in the chat so that we can start
Yes,
from.
sir, you are audible.
Thank you. The last session we were supposed to see a demo. We'll start from there on the virtual box. And for today's topic, we're going to start with IaaS services, that is infrastructure as a service, where we cover mostly on EC2 and S3 buckets. So those are two exercises you will be doing in your lab. So you'll be hosting a website on what is that? First is like how to create a VM in AWS, and then you have an S3 bucket over there. Okay, so where you can host static websites. So that is your second exercise with respect to your lab, and still I think you have not received your credentials. Even I don't have an AWS login. I'm expecting Bits to provide that so that I can show you a demo. I tried to create an account today, but it is asking for PAN details majorly. So once I complete that, I thought of showing you, but today we will, you'll have only few parts of the demo, like the Oracle VirtualBox. So it is already right now. So the VM VirtualBox. So I'll share you that. So if you see, so we can add new by creating new images. You can pull your image wherever you want. Even I will download a new image from the portal. So from the browser, you can pull the image from site. Okay, so you can go to ubuntu.com. You want to download this one. This is which is latest for desktop and laptops 24.04.2. Okay, even the older version also you can download from this website. Start this one as well. You can get downloaded one side. Okay, will hardly take less than few minutes. Yes, sure. Take more than that. Okay, so meanwhile we'll see the Oracle VirtualBox. Okay, so I have already loaded this image. Okay, that's why it is showing it here. Once that is done, we'll open it and we'll do the add option. And now I'm starting the existing one, so I can just click this VM will power on, and let's see the onboarding. So virtual machine will now scale. Okay. So your VM is getting spinned up. Then we can download another image from, if you want to run a Windows server. Okay, you want to run a Windows server. To download the ISO file. ISO servers, ISO images you can download. This also takes 5 GB. Okay. So meanwhile, what I will do is I will take you to our presentation for the base slide. So in between, for today's session, we're going to start with the introduction to infrastructure as a service and two major services under this we will see basically with respect to AWS. So infrastructure in the sense both compute and storage, we are going to deliver it as a service. Okay, so if you see all these services, like what kind of server it is and what type of storage, and those things will be made available by the service provider, let's say AWS or Azure or Google. Okay. Here it offers flexibility to the users, like there isn't any burden of maintaining the OS, right? OS patches or any middleware, yeah, which is meant to them. So storage as a service, which is one of the two major services offered by US. Okay. So one is simple storage service, which is S3 bucket, with 3S. Okay, simple storage service, which is highly reliable and is available to everyone. Okay, which is example is your Amazon S3. And you have simple and relational database services. Let's say Amazon gives you simple DB and relational database services. Let's say MySQL instance or a cloud. And what actually the data or the needs of data storage. Okay, so we know increase in enterprise and industry, they require both unstructured, they want to maintain both structured and unstructured data. Okay, so if it is a structured data, you need to store that in a relational database, okay, for e-commerce business. And unstructured data are it's vice versa, right? Like it is opposite to structured data, and you don't have a tabular format to maintain those data, let's say images or videos or whatever There is no SQL kind of a thing. Okay, those data are called as unstructured, storing objects, files, etc. So enterprises, as I told you, right, they want to store objects. So different sized images, like online photo album. So you also need to protect data. You're storing it on the cloud, right? So it gives you both security and availability. And in terms of both, if there is a failure in terms of hardware, network, software, they provide the data on a flexible way. So let's see whether the download is completed. It's almost done, I think. Check whether it is available in the downloads. So to complete this one is ready. I think. Okay, it's ready. It's in a raw format. Show the machine. So let's create a new one once this image is ready. This is ready. Now this is this image is ready. So what we have to do is we need to go here and create plus. Okay, to add a new image. Now we have downloaded, right? So you can click from there. So you need to store, put in new. So you need to pull this thing. So now we can go. So if so you can so in download you can see the downloaded one. This is the old one, I think. So you can go and search for the new one. Okay, which is the new one. It's for the password. Now you have to go and select the CPU. So how much memory I'm giving? 2 GB for this, and processor I'm giving 1 CPU. And give next. And then for virtual hard disk, I'm giving 2 TB, 25 GB. There's more than enough for us to run. What is this? This Linux machines. And then finish. Okay, now it is. You have loaded it. Now you have to go and start. You can go to settings and see. Okay, so if you see here, like this also you can go and see. So storage, if you see, we have already loaded the OS image, like the ISO image over here. And it will automatically create a new VDI for us. Now it is done. Now you just click start. Actually, it will install initially. We have to install the OS, right? The VM is powering up. So now we need to install it, right? There we have to install software. Install. Showing some error in graphics issue. Still notice the installation is going on. That it begin. Okay. Meanwhile, let it continue. Now, Now you can play inside the VM. Okay, you can go to terminal. You can. So it will be a little slow because we are given only less RAM, right? Only 2 GB we have given. So if you see, I'm running my Windows laptop, okay, Windows 11. And on top of that, I have installed VirtualBox, which is an hypervisor, which is like guest, it is running on a guest OS. Now you can, after that, you can go check use this VM for installing Docker. Okay, that is an experiment. Okay, you'll be doing midsum, which is installation of Docker, launching an image in Docker. Okay, there is no Docker here, so I'm installing it. So Docker will be a little bit interesting. Like I'll also teach you how to. So installing a Docker is again a micro container, right? You can install multiple Dockers, yeah, on a single OS and run multiple applications on each container. So this is using the internet which is there in my computer. Okay, through the Windows operating system. Okay, it does all these activities. But I may need to update the OS if any packages is missing. There now we can install Docker. So it is downloading the stable version of Docker. Once it is done, it will start the installation. So this steps will also help us when you do any Linux machine you can take. You can now we are doing it on a desktop version of Ubuntu, and you can also run a Docker on a server. Okay, if you create one using AWS or Azure or Google, wherever it is. So that's right. So you version. Doctor hyphen version. So it shows. So you have other commands you will see later. Okay. A lot of commands were there. So if you use, we'll be loading a doc. The Docker is running on top of a Linux VM now. Okay, so Docker PS will show you. Okay. Some more updates we need to do that we'll do later. So just showcase you how to install a Docker on Ubuntu machine. Okay. Let's shut down this VM. I'm powering off the VM. So it will remove the object, okay, from the machine, and it's like a VM. Okay, all your virtualization works in the same way. When you switch on that machine on a cloud, what happens is it will pull that image from where the repository is. From there, it will pull it to your what is that? Your uh, the respective region, and there it will select a host, and there it will bring that machine on how we manually do it here. Cloud is where you have software defined data center where all these things will be automated. Okay. And from a single console, you can do everything like whatever you want. You can just manage accordingly. It will, so you even you can do for the what is that? The same for the other stream also. So any OS you can just download and then you can do it the same way. For example, we saw right. This is your demo part, which we okay. So if you see, we created one virtual box and we installed the latest version. Okay, this is a little bit older one, and see, even you can instead of this thing, you can use a VMware workstation. Okay, so here it is a helpful only, right? So yeah, you can also download a VMware workstation. and do the same thing. So VMware can should have downloading it from the let me download from here. What we have to do, we can install Red Hat here or any other cc05. Taking some other website also. You should not try on non-authorized website. So desktop hypervisors you can see in the product. The plot can. Yes. Okay. So this will try a little later, or else you can also try. Demo is done. Now we go on to the next one. So two things we saw: one is simple storage and simple storage service, which is S3, Amazon's S3, and the other one is simple and relational database services. So Amazon Simple DB and RDS. So computer as a service, so you can increase or decrease as per the need of your requirement on a time basis. And if you see one or more virtual machines, they group together, okay, and they provided to user as a single instance. Okay, so any sudden increase can also be taken care of. So this is what is IaaS model, like storage as a service, compute as a service, and virtual network. So now you can see how an on-premise data center looks like, how we manage everything. We need to buy networking components, we need to buy storage components, could be an NAS or a SAN, and you need to buy procure servers. You need to, what is that, run the hypervisor. So you want to buy those licenses, and then you need to buy operating system from Windows or Linux. And then after that, if any middleware is required for development purpose, you have to install that. And then on top of that, you have the runtime, the data and application. All these things are managed by the if they don't use a data center or they don't have a cloud data center. Now, when it comes to the service provider, what he manages, you can see the bottom four layer is managed by them. Let's say virtualization, servers, storage, all hardware components are managed by the vendor. Okay. On top of that, you can see from the OS, selection of OS, picking the OS image, all these things you can do. So, types of infrastructure as a service resources. You could see so cloud compute resources, which include CPU, graphics, and RAM. So, compute itself is a combination of RAM and CPU. Okay? So, they provide resources in terms of virtual machines or cloud instances. Okay, and they also provide in terms of capacity. So what kind of capacity they need a 2 core or an 8 GB or 4 core or a 16 GB like that. When it comes to storage, they have three as we is there storage resources. What storage resources they really are capable of delivering it to the customer. Let's say we use block storage. Yeah, it stores data in terms of block. Let's say SSD drives. So if you would have heard about like premium SSD and normal SSD or a standard hard drive. Whereas file storage stores data as like they store files in the network attached storage devices. And object storages are similar to data as objects. Okay, how we store the relational data, right? Like for example, key value pairs. Okay, like that you can store objects. Coming to networking. So networking also includes various resources like routers, switches, and load balancers. Okay, so what this IaaS model does is it works by virtualizing those the functionalities of network. Okay, so in terms of software, for example, AWS networking, which runs secure and high performing cloud computing networks for the organization. So they'll give you a virtual network, okay, which is done by software, similar to how a hardware works. So any hardware device, if you take on top of that, some piece of software will be there to drive the hardware. Similar here, virtually you create a network and you have attached. So if you group the virtual devices together and what is that? You consolidate them. Some of the benefits of IaaS. Okay. So speed, performance, reliability, backup, and recovery, and competitive pricing. So security and compliance responsibilities, okay, when you are under a shared model, okay, yes, because you know to whom your host is being shared. Let's say it could be any other company who shares your server as well, okay, on your host. So if you see physical security of the data centers, okay, uh, they have surveillance cameras, guards, etc. And infrastructure security, they have restricted access and they do regular maintenance of the provider's infrastructure. And data security is very strict with very strict controls. Like you have encryption, third party auditing to meet all compliance requirements is carried out by the provider. And high performance computing. So if you see, this platform can execute calculations in terms of quarterly and per second. Okay, usually a computer will have only 3 GHz chip. Okay, but what happens here is it groups everything together, right? So you can have high performance services available to meet your requirement. Let's say you have a scientific research to be done, or you have to do a complex calculation. Okay, and so all these things all those calculations can be done in a faster way. Okay, and you also pay very less out of it. So you can burn instances or start an instance by automation, and you can just make it run for some few minutes. Okay, so that let's say 15 minutes you can run, or 30 minutes you can run a server. Even if you see all your security services runs the same, you have 100 plus VMs. It will create automatic VMs. Those VM agents will run those cloud services on a actually, and then they will get discarded after the activity is completed. You see, coming to the edge computing. So this platform is co-located uh, near a business, a user, or a data source. So for faster and more reliable services. So it offers hybrid kind of a solution, and so wherever business and data are processed, you can use it. So when you get this facility, your data can be processed faster, and you can provide more flexibility with respect to hardware and software configuration, and it also increases reliability. So next is bare metal services. So bare metal in the sense a single tenant server, okay, which is managed by the tenant to meet their specific needs. So OS can be directly installed on the server for better performance. Okay. So these bare metal services are generally used by healthcare providers, financial institutions, and retail business. So you can use this bare metal services deployed in a business data center. Okay, that uses the service or a co-location data center. So various businesses have various complaints. Okay, based on that, only few will have stringent requirements. So what they will do, they will not be able to push their data to a public data center. Okay, due to regulatory compliance, privacy, and security. Even though they say security, but certain companies, for example, you would have come across European nations. They have uh, compliance with respect to data. Their data will not be moved to any other country. Next is resource scaling. So resource scaling, it's an automated process, okay, that occurs when an EAS as a client request, like you need to increase or decrease the transaction. Okay, resource auto tracking is must. Okay, for example, what percentage is running automatically to spin new VMs to manage the workload. That is what is called as auto scale. So you can increase or decrease EAS services. Okay. Next is usage tracking. So how many hours your machine is being. If you see 730 to 740 hours per month, okay, your machine should do that. So historical records of user of the used IAS services. Okay, it can be viewed in terms of dashboard metrics and reporting. If you go to AWS, you'll have metrics. Okay, how long the VM is run, what is the CPU performance of that. All these things we can see in AWS and other metrics as well with respect to vendors. So this utilizing the EAS IT infrastructure as an on-demand services that can fluctuate Uh, for one main reason is based on the provider. Provider to provider, it will be different. So without the ability to track the usage, you will not be able to track the project cost as well. Let's say you are running 100 plus VMs on cloud and a lot of people are working. Okay, even though your performance is hitting, okay, why it is hitting? You should compare that how we can take it forward by seeing the by looking at the historical records of the services used. So now you can see IS provider comparison. And now let's have a short break. Okay, let's continue. I'm sharing my screen. So some of the IAS providers comparison you can see here with respect to the parameters what we saw. Let's say high performance computing, edge computing, bare metal services, resource scaling, and usage tracking. So here we have all these five options are managed by EC2. Amazon EC2 is Elastic Cloud Computing, Cloud Compute instance, and other instance as well. Okay, by various vendors, let's say Google, DigitalOcean, etc. Now let's see what the major providers provide. Okay, so Amazon gives you a feature called Amazon Elastic Cloud Computing, which is a predefined and pre-configured templates they have. So this will help us to build the virtual service using Amazon's machine image. How we created, right? Using Ubuntu, okay, they have their own pre-built images which can emulate the virtual server. Okay, as an application server or an operating system based on our need. Okay. They also help us to create those AMIs with respect to our images. Let's say we have created our OS and we have installed certain thing, we can convert that into an AMI. So just take a look at this screenshot. I think it was taken long back, and now we have a latest screenshot. Once we get the login, we'll come to know. Here at the left-hand side, you can see instances, spot instances, reserved instances. Reserved instances, so you can, what is that? You can create an instance and uh, you can have it paid for. Let's say you're going to use it for a year. Okay, you can get discounts for that for 1 year or a 3 year or and you can see at the left hand side you have images where all the pre-built images will be there. Or else you can also create your own image with some application. Let's say you have IAS to be configured, okay, on a Windows page. You can configure all these things and you can take that image and store it in a separate AMI so that if something goes wrong or you want to spin a new VM with the same configuration, you can use the same image. One second. I'm sorry. Okay, so the menu you can see a few things. And you have elastic block storage. That's what we saw, right? Block storage is where you add your hard drives or SSD drives to your VM. Okay, to the compute device, you are adding those things. So compute will not come with this; it will come separately. This will become separate, and you can also take snapshots as you take AMI, right? So you can set snapshots like already you can load some data and you can take a snapshot of it. It's like a disk image. And at the bottom you'll have a security group. And so here you see once you spin the VM, what happens is you can see one VM is running at the right hand side. My resources you can see. On top of that, you have all these other features like a cloud watch, which is a metrics where you can see the performance or the history of this VM. Okay. So next is your Google Cloud Compute Engine. So Google Engine migration tool is a key feature that various customers you can easily learn and use it effectively. Okay, and Google Data Analytics is also one of the strong features where customer likes that. Okay, so Google has real-time processing tools and data flow, and which it is also for our customers to use Google-based solutions. Next is IBM Private Cloud. Like IBM is different from other products what we are evaluating here. Okay, it's an on-premise kind of a solution, and so based on the business location, the data center, okay, you can set up this. All your host servers will be running IBM-based hypervisor, and you can do virtualization on top of it. Okay. So here, what happens is if the business needs private cloud kind of a thing, you need to have full control over the hardware and software choices. You can use this IBM private cloud. Okay, you can customize both hardware and software, and whereas it differs from the public IaaS provider. Yeah, IBM uses Kubernetes and to extend its cloud applications to public cloud service. Okay, and it automatically manages the random access memory, storage, and the CPU as and when it is necessary. So some features in based on these providers, how you select those providers, CRS providers, right? We have a list. Okay, so which has to be you're running a business and it should provide an optimal gas solution for your specific needs. So in what way you need to consider what are the basic services you need? First is server clustering and load balancing. So the ability, what is server clustering and load balancing is? So whenever there is a increase in the customer demand, okay, they need to spread the workload among the cluster servers, and it should be done immediately. So that is the major one. Next is dynamic scaling. As I told you, you're running a VM and you have two VMs which is already or a single VM which is running a business critical application, and automatically you want to scale new mission when this mission is overloaded. Okay, that is necessary. So after the load is reduced, automatically that VM should be shut down, and only the primary VM or the parent VM should run post after the scale down. Next is platform virtualization technology. So here, it should also provide an ability to create virtualized IT devices, or resources. Next is graphical user interface and API-based access. So you should have a user-friendly interface, okay, and allows the API to communicate with other computers or programs. The last one is monitoring capability. So whatever resource you provide, you need to provide monitoring as well. Okay. So the usage should be monitored, or the aspect should be monitored. Okay. So these are the five features where you can select, okay, based on which provider is providing you all these five features in a better way. Let's see some of the advantages of EOS and disadvantages. So biggest advantages is scaling up and down due to on-demand needs. Okay. So resource order scaling is one of the best way to attain. Okay. Instead of waiting on a load, or if you're overloaded and you're not able to serve the customers, it will be really critical for your business. And meeting customer demands. Okay. So you need to manage the overall business budget. Yeah. And you should not buy more, right? Like you want to buy hardware and you have some projection over it. And if you're losing revenue out of it, and if you don't have an enough infrastructure, okay, for you to meet the increased demand. Okay, so here it is definitely meeting the customer demands. Next is the dependent is you are storing all your data on a third party provider, like let's say a cloud provider, which is public provider. So you may lose some control over their information. Let's say if you are storing confidential data to one disk, and if you delete it, okay, you will not be able to bring it back at all, because once lost is lost. So yeah, it is highly critical. You have to be more cautious when handling data on the cloud. So this ability to customize this is not at all flexible in IaaS, okay? Because it's a virtualized server environment. Once you shut down the VM, let's say you do a you stop and you are stopping and starting a VM, okay? Let's say you're stopping the VM at 9 p.m. and morning 9 a.m. and you're automatically switching it on. What will happen is your machine will be deallocated, and your quota will also be deallocated. So if you, that is, even your CPU and quota, there also you have limitations. Okay, whereas if you delete accidentally, okay, or you don't know which one to keep and you have deleted it unintentionally, what will happen is you'll not be able to bring that image or data back. That is the major concern with yes. So another downside is that broadband connectivity. Yeah. So if you are in a remote location and you may need you may be like having inadequate yeah uh, connectivity issues, and due to connectivity issues, your SLA might get disturbed. Okay. So in your office, you'll have proper internet connectivity. But if you're sitting at home and you're not having internet connectivity with minimum bandwidth, okay, you will not be able to achieve the SLA given by the provider. And the pricing of iOS may be difficult to understand, okay, because on-demand services scale up and down. It might scale for some 15 minutes, and for that also you'll be charged with dollars. They're not straightforward. That is what. If you buy an RI is like reserved instances. You need to pay the reserved instances cost every month upfront. Okay, the day one itself you'll be paying the RI. So whatever array you have procured, so you need to adjust and see what are the remaining costs is coming from. So most importantly, any agreed upon SLA that is not meeting the business needs is problematic. Okay, if not properly addressed. So if you see here, they have written SLA. Okay, that is one of the major disadvantages. Okay, and can minimize the issues. So it is important to address unique business needs in SLA. Let's say they give 99.999% of SLA, any cloud provider. Okay, on their availability. Okay, but your business needs 0% downtime. Then you need to have a hot site kind of a data center. You need to have hot of active PR in place. This is critical factors for selecting an ES provider. Okay, if you see, as you evaluate ES provider, you need to consider the types of business you represent. Okay. So you have, if multiple departments make a business, okay, get input from each department to make sure all issues and concerns are considered. And then you need to try identify the key feature, okay, which will address all key inputs received from each department. And you need to start with a comprehensive SLA to address the business requirements. So next is Amazon S3. Okay. For that, I will take you to the lab portion of our presentation. I'll put the presentation inside your what is that your shared folder where you can catch up all those things right away. Where I've already posted cloud computing 1 and 2 PPT. You can go and check it. The remaining also. Yeah, I've loaded the presentations. Let me share screen again. There's a lab outline for you. So we have already touched on. So Amazon Web Services, you can see, you can have a walkthrough on this. How AWS infrastructure services will help you to host your application on various ends. Stick to your computer. So each and every one you can just read it out. And see web services that provide resizable compute capacity in the cloud. So it is can be bundled with OS application software in terms of AMI, I told you, right? And using these AMIs, you can provision multiple virtualized instances, their VMs, and decommission them using simple web service calls to scale capacity up and down just by clicking about it. And VM, as I told you, on-demand instances, you'll be paying per hour. Okay. Running 24 hours into 30 days, you get 730 to 740 hours. Next is reserved instances, paying in advance for that VM for a year or 3 years so that you get discounts. Spot instances, like you can, you need spot instances immediately, you can purchase it from there. And you can also launch instances in one or more geographical regions. Let's say we have in Singapore, Tokyo, like that. So various places you have the data center. So each region has multiple availability zones. Availability zone in the sense, let's say we have a data center in Mumbai. In Mumbai, you'll have three data centers, like South, A1 or ABC, like that. Okay. So all your data will be replicated bidirectional, at least in one of the other availability zones for safety purpose. So if there is a failure in availability zone, you can even still get connected to the replicator. Okay, similarly, you will have virtual networking. So if you see all together, you can make up an infrastructure as a service. Here you can, this I'll show you in a demo. You can see screenshot, like you can see creating an EC2 instance. Step by step, you have it in this presentation. If you have a login, you can try it out. So your elastic load balancer, elastic loss services. Elastic IP is nothing but your public IP for your machine. For example, you're going to post a website, you want a static IP. So they call it as public IP. You can attach a constant IP so that whenever you restart your machine, the IP will still be the same. Okay, so this is one of the architecture with AWS in elasticity. So once the login is ready, we will do the lab session. Now you can leave for the day. Any doubts?